This Trek Tuesday features a look back with Vaughn Armstrong at a con. This is Exploring Humanity through Sci-Fi. This rebrand continues my mission to better understand ourselves through sci-fi, fantasy, horror, and comics as our mode of exploration. Vaughn Armstrong brought a stage background to the many characters he portrayed on Star Trek. He played 12 different characters in the Star Trek universe in 28 episodes. On Voyager alone, he played 5 different characters. He was also known for playing Admiral Forrest in Star Trek Enterprise as well. Musically, he plays a ukulele, a banjo style called banjolele. His musical repertoire is extensive, as he had played songs from the Civil War and Our American Roots as well. A true talent is Vaughn Armstrong.
Admiral Forrest. We've kind of missed Admiral Forrest this season.
Yes, we have. They never call, they never write. It's a horrible thing.
Have you heard any word about him coming back at all sometime this year?
Yes. Well, this year, no. The third season is done shooting already. I'm told, though, that he will come back in the 4th season, if there is a 4th season. And we hope there will be.
Is there speculation that there might not be a 4th season?
I don't know all the details. The ratings for Star Trek have been in decline now for a while. There's a question of whether or not there will be certainly a 5th season. I think they will do a 4th. Personally, I think that it would be a shame not to go ahead and continue it through the 7-year contract, because then they will have all that product to use forever. And they will show forever. Thank God. The gift that keeps on giving.
Admiral Forrest, one thing I noticed, this is what I pick up from him and Archer. You know, being that Archer's father is no longer around, that in a way Forrest is kind of like a father figure to him. And Archer's kind of like his son that doesn't always obey and do the right thing.
That's exactly what I think about Admiral Forrest, though I'm not sure Archer is supposed to obey, and I think that's why Forrest chose him. Because he is human. He's spontaneous in a very human way, and intelligent and kind. So Forrest picked him because he knew that he would respond in a correct human manner with the aliens that we are newly getting to know. So he wanted to have a very human man out there sharing the wealth of humanity with them.
More with Vaughn Armstrong on Trek Tuesday in a moment.
The episode that I think that really stands out for me is the episode about when they were like essentially showing the right stuff to test the first warp engine. Right there, he kind of put Forrest in a very awkward position, and just how that was resolved and the brief tension that was between the two of you was pretty neat to watch.
I love that episode. First Flight, I think, is the one you're referring to, and got a chance for Admiral Forrest to show a lot of different sides of who he was. He got to be the drill sergeant who was ragging out the guys that disobeyed, and he got to be the old soldier who was commiserating with the younger guys in the bar, and he got to be the stoic father figure as well, like you say, and we saw a lot of different elements of Admiral Forrest. In fact, I was hoping that and the following episode, which was, I think, The Expanse, was an indication of how they would be using Admiral Forrest in the future, but doesn't seem to be. They did say to me that they would be using me as a lot of different foreheads in this season, but I knew Admiral Forrest would not be reappearing until the end. I don't think in fact, I know he's not going to appear in the final episode of the 3rd season, because it's over. They've shot it already. But I'm told he'll be back in the 4th season.
With all your Star Trek appearances, starting in The Next Generation, I mean, you've been on every Trek series, as every a possible alien you could have been, even an ex-Borg, and then you were Borgified in the episode in flashbacks, and then you were in the last episode of Voyager. You've actually been a part of a lot of the major events in Star Trek history by your portrayals.
Thank you. I'm actually very proud of that record that I hold, as having more different foreheads than anybody who speaks. Anyway, Bill Blair, as you know, has done quite a few roles as well, but I don't think all of them have been speaking roles. I've been very lucky. They've been very kind to me for the last 15 years. I was a Borg. I was 2 of 9, 7's older brother. I was the first incarnation of a Klingon with a forehead in The Next Generation. That was fun to do. Got to play a very sensitive Romulan, which is rare. I've had an eclectic experience being many different characters. I hold the record with 11 different ones, and I'm very proud of that. I had hoped to do 100 before I died, but I better hurry because it took me 15 years to do 11.
I did like your sensitive Romulan very much. And in Voyager, which has actually now just been released on DVD, a lot of your performances are now on DVD. Have you had a chance to see some of those that way?
On DVD, no. I did, what do you call the little special events that they have on a DVD? Commentary. They just did an interview with me, about 10 minutes on the DVD set, which I have not yet seen. I'm sure as heck going to buy it, I'll tell you that. If they don't send me one, I hope they do.
I also enjoyed a portrayal you did on Babylon 5. That was on season 3, where didn't even have a name. It was Security Guard Number 1, part of the infamous Night Watch. You and Zach and also Jerry Doyle's Garibaldi were actually more with Garibaldi. You were butting heads. I mean, having the experience of working on that franchise, what was that like compared to they're essentially families, the Trek family and the Babylon 5 family. What was that family like to work?
They were very nice. I must say the gentleman who impressed me most as I walked on this, Jeff Conway was a very nice guy, but one of the men that I did not have any scenes with was Richard Biggs, who was the first man to walk on the set directly up to me and shake my hand and welcome me aboard. He said, "I'm Rick Biggs. It's really nice to have you with us." And since then we've become very good friends. I did a play with him some years ago, Tracers, about Vietnam veterans. He comes from a military family, and I am a Vietnam veteran, so we sort of struck up a kinship, have stayed in touch ever since. It's great.
Serving in the Vietnam War, I'm sure you have a ton of experience, and that could be an interview in itself. Years later now, what kind of settles in your mind about the whole experience?
I don't think you can be in a war zone for a year and not have lingering questions about what was right about it, what was wrong about it. What settles in my mind more than anything was, I think it is the endurance of the Vietnamese people. They were so kind, and they used such humor to get through day-to-day life. Excuse me.
That says it all. That says it all. No, I understand. Well, that's awesome. I mean, that's something to be commemorated about your background. We have Veterans Day coming up, Memorial Day weekend coming up soon. So certainly remember those who didn't come back from all the different wars. So it's, it must have been something. God bless you for that, and congratulations. It's good to, that's great to hear something like that. That's very inspirational.
My vintage conversation with Vaughn Armstrong continues in just a moment on Trek Tuesday.
I tried not to go, but they kept saying they wanted me, so I went anyway,
See, that war is very fresh in my memory. I lived through that whole experience, and I registered and all that, I would have not preferred to go if my number came up, and I did what I was supposed to do. And there was a lot of people at the time, it was kind of cool not to. It did make me grow up in a hurry, because I don't think people can understand what it is to live in a poor country that's been at war unless they see it, particularly Americans, because they don't know the wealth and riches that we have here. They just assume that the whole world is like this, and there is no other place in the world like this country. Well, I'm a Cuban refugee. My family lost everything, and we started from scratch here. So I know what it's like to lose, and I also know what I have here. And we've been very, very lucky. The U.S. has been, it's our home, and they're actually going back this fall for the first time. And that's really going to be an experience for my parents.
They've opened up the relationships a little bit. That's great. Well, welcome. We're glad you're here.
I've been here a long time now. I'm more American than anything else, really. But I obviously cling to the values and the culture that I came from and respect it. I think that's what's been great about Star Trek. A lot of good Latino actors and have become directors. Roxanne Dawson, in particular, who I've interviewed, has been a great director for Star Trek.
Directed me in a couple of episodes. I've enjoyed Roxanne a lot. I hope to work with her again. She's a great lady.
Well, there's a lot of really good people on Enterprise, and I'd like to really see it fly. I know it's very tough out there. Star Trek kind of enjoyed a good existence for a while where there wasn't as much competition. Now there's a lot of competition, and you really have to come with your A game, and it's not easy when you're trying to find your way. I want to thank you for taking the time. And it's, keep doing. I want to see Admiral Forrest again. If not, we'll keep looking for those foreheads. Actually, before we go, I do want to talk about the song you have, the Enterprise Blues.
I have this silly little song, actually several silly little songs that I started writing for the conventions because the first one I went to, I was told I'd have a little chat with the audience. I was expecting 60 people. I walked out on stage, and there were 3,000 people in the audience. Both knees started to shake, and I realized that I had to have something to talk about or entertain them in some way. So I learned to play the ukulele. I wrote these silly little songs, and I do the harmonica with it, and everybody seems to love it. So the Enterprise Blues is my story is set to music. So if you get a chance, you ought to hear it.
I did hear it last night at the Cabaret. I loved it. I thought it was great. The only thing is, I thought you played the mouth harp pretty well. I wanted to hear more of that.
Oh, well, thanks. Yeah, well, I'll tell you what. Play this on your show sometime. Just handed him a CD, by the way, so if he doesn't play it, I want you all to call in.
I interviewed Linda Park 2 weeks before the original show premiered. It was so good to see Jamie Cromwell on that show, who I met during First Contact, where he played the same character, just there from Cochrane. And then I spoke to Dominic last year, or the year before, when they had shot Minefield, and Scott threw out his back. It was just really bad for Scott. It was a great episode. So I've been with them every step of the way, and Deep Space Nine, I was there for them and covered the last few movies. I was at the Nemesis Junket, Insurrection, First Contact, didn't make it to Generations, and then Deep Space Nine, those actors. The original series, I've spoken to a few people, so I've spoken to at least one actor, a writer, a producer from every Star Trek series that's ever aired.
Excellent. We need a lot more of you, particularly these days when we seem to be waning after 30 years of Star Trek. We need some promotion out there, and I thank you.
I love Star Trek. I grew up with it. I never thought I'd be doing this in connection to Star Trek, but it's been an incredible experience. Even if the show is over, it's not going to be over as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, it is that gift that keeps on giving. I mean, they will play it forever, I believe. It's got a great message. I think the basic point is that even though you have this kind of forehead and I got this kind of ears, we can all tolerate each other and get along with whatever kind of society that would generally clash with us. We can find ways to understand and get on with life. And I think that's kind of what it's all about, and it's a message that need be told. And I don't think anybody tells it quite like Star Trek, so I think it should be on forever.
That's the appeal it's always had with me, and that's why I will watch and keep watching. I'll admit they stumble, but the premise is still there, and I like this crew. I like I like the people they are. I like the actors who are behind this crew.
Scott Bakula is probably the kindest, most professional actor I have ever met on any set. He always knows his lines. He's always sure that he knows everybody's name that is on the set. If he sees an extra who he hasn't met or has met once or twice, he'll go to the assistant director and say, "Can you tell me his name again?" And then he will always address that man by his first name, so man or woman. Makes the set a joy to be on. They are generally happy to be in each other's company. Couldn't work on a better show.
They've done a lot of good things. I love the design of the new Enterprise and how they kind of just took our technology and kind of moved it up a little bit to kind of match the beginning of the original show. Very cleverly done, and I really hope they will find their way again.
I hope so too. And I hope it includes Admiral Forrest. Can't wait for the movie because they can't do that without Admiral Forrest. So send those cards and letters.
Well, thank you so much again.
Look for all his work on Paramount Plus. Beyond Sci-Fi Talk Plus, I've been showcasing The Conjuring: Last Rites through a series of videos, of sit-down interviews with the cast, and my behind-the-curtain video special on the movie featuring interviews, 4 clips, and behind-the-scenes footage. My Byte audio podcasts even have companion Conjuring videos. And that's part of what you get as a subscriber to Plus. In addition to special edition uncut podcast, commercial-free episodes, the Mix 100 audio series that is selected by subscriber downloads. You can listen and watch on your desktop, laptop, or phone with the player of your choice like Apple Podcasts or Spotify on your very own RSS feed. Sign up for a free 1-year trial. After the year's over, pay $1.99 a month, a locked-in forever price. Click on the link in the show notes to start today. For Trek Tuesday, this is Tony Tellado.